I was folding laundry when my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. The woman on the other end laughed, and said, "Just so you know, your husband has been in my bed for the last 6 months, and he's never coming back to you." She thought I'd cry. She thought I'd beg. What she didn't know was that I'm a corporate litigation attorney, and destroying people who underestimate me is literally what I do for a living. By the time I was done, she lost her job, her reputation, and the man she thought she'd won. This is the story of how one phone call turned me from a heartbroken wife into the architect of their complete downfall. Chapter 1. The Call That Changed Everything. My name is Catherine Morrison, cat to my friends, and before that phone call, I thought I had my life figured out. I was 34 years old, living in a beautiful craftsman house in Portland, Oregon, working as a senior associate at Davidson and Reed, one of the most respected corporate litigation firms in the Pacific Northwest. My days were spent in depositions, contract disputes, and occasionally taking down executives who thought they were untouchable. I was good at my job, really good, the kind of good where partners would specifically request me for their toughest cases because they knew I didn't just win. I demolished the opposition so thoroughly they'd think twice before stepping into a courtroom again. My husband, Tyler Morrison, was a medical equipment sales rep. Decent job, solid income, nice guy, or so I thought. We've been married for 8 years, together for 10. No kids yet, but we've been talking about it. The timing never seemed quite right with my career trajectory, and he always said he understood. He'd kiss my forehead, tell me we had plenty of time, and I believed him. God, I actually believed him. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late September. I remember because I'd taken a rare half-day off after closing a massive case the week before. I was home early, standing in our laundry room folding Tyler's dress shirts. Ironic, considering what was about to happen, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Portland area code. I almost didn't answer, figuring it was some spam call about my car's extended warranty, but something made me pick up. "Hello!" There was a pause, then a woman's voice. Smooth, confident, almost amused. "Hi, is this Catherine?" "Yes, who's this?" "Oh, we haven't officially met, but I feel like I know you pretty well." She laughed, this light, tinkling laugh that made my stomach drop. "Your husband talks about you all the time." "Well talked. Past tense now, I guess." I stopped folding. The shirt in my hands suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "I'm sorry, who is this?" "My name's Jenna. Jenna Hartley. And I'm calling because, well, I figured you should know the truth since Tyler's apparently too chicken shit to tell you himself." Another laugh. She was enjoying this. "Your husband has been sleeping with me for the last 6 months. Actually, it's been closer to a year if we're counting from when we first started flirting, but the physical stuff? Yeah, 6 months. And honey, he's not coming back to you." My entire body went cold, but my mind went into lawyer mode immediately. That's the thing about doing litigation for a living. You learn to compartmentalize. You learn to keep your face neutral even when opposing counsel drops a bombshell. You learn to stay 3 steps ahead even when your heart is racing. "I see," I said, my voice eerily calm. "And you felt compelled to call me personally because I'm tired of being the secret." Her voice had an edge now, defensive. "Because he keeps saying he's going to leave you, but then he chickens out, and I'm done waiting. So I figured if you knew, it would force his hand. He'll be free. I'll finally have him for real, and you can go find someone who actually wants you." The cruelty in that last sentence was calculated. She wanted me to cry. She wanted me to scream. She wanted to hear me break. "I appreciate you letting me know," I said, grabbing a pen and notepad from the counter. "Can I ask you a few questions? I just want to understand the situation fully." She seemed taken aback by my composure. Sure. How did you two meet?" "At a conference in Seattle last March. He was selling to my company. I work at Care Health Solutions. I'm a regional operations manager, and we just clicked. Started texting, then meeting up for drinks, and it just happened." I was writing furiously. Care Health Solutions, vendor relationship, violation of corporate ethics policy. My brain was cataloging everything. "And you said this has been physical for 6 months?" "Yeah, since April. We usually meet at the Marriott downtown on Thursday afternoons when you're working late." She said it like she was twisting a knife. "He told me about your schedule. Said Thursdays were trial prep days, and you never got home before 9. She was right. Thursday was my late day. Every single Thursday for the past 6 months, I'd been working my ass off while my husband was screwing his mistress at a hotel 15 minutes from our house. And he's talked about leaving me all the time. He says you're married to your job, that you don't make time for him anymore, that he feels like a roommate instead of a husband." Her voice got more animated. "He said marrying you was a mistake, that you were too ambitious, too cold. He said I make him feel alive again." There it was, the words designed to shatter me. And honestly, they hurt. They hurt like hell. But I didn't let her hear that. "Well, Jenna, I appreciate you being so thorough. This has been very enlightening." "That's it." She sounded almost disappointed. "You're not going to cry or yell or anything?" "Not my style," I said. "But I do have one more question. You said you work at Care Health Solutions." "Yeah, why?" "Just curious. Thanks again for the call." I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking now, the adrenaline finally hitting. I set the phone down on the washing machine and stared at the shirt I'd been folding. One of Tyler's light blue Nordstrom button-downs that I'd picked out for him last Christmas. I'd ironed it. I'd put it in the wash. I'd been taking care of him while he was making a fool of me. Then I did what any good attorney does when they're handed evidence. I went to work. I walked straight to Tyler's home office, the spare bedroom we'd converted when he started working from home more often. His laptop was on the desk, closed but not password protected once you opened it. We'd always had each other's passwords, trusted each other. What a joke. I opened his email. It took me less than 5 minutes to find them. Months and months of correspondence with Jenna Hartley. And she'd been stupid enough, arrogant enough, to use her work email. Her actual Care Health Solutions corporate email address. The messages were disgusting. Detailed descriptions of their hookups. Complaints about me. Plans for a future together. But more than that, they were evidence. Time-stamped, server-based, corporate policy violating evidence. In one email from June, she'd written, "Just got out of the worst meeting with our CEO. He's such an incompetent asshole. I swear he only got the job because his dad founded the company. Can't wait until I'm out of this hellhole and living our real life together." Bad-mouthing her CEO in a company email to a vendor representative. That alone was a termination-level offense. In another from July, Tyler had written back, "Can't wait until Catherine finally gets the hint and I can leave. She's so obsessed with making partners, she probably wouldn't even notice if I moved out. You're everything she's not. Fun, spontaneous, actually interested in me." I took screenshots of everything. Downloaded entire email chains to a secure cloud drive only I had access to. I went through our shared credit card statements and found charges I'd never noticed before. Marriott stays on Thursdays, expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together, a weekend trip to Napa Valley in August that he told me was a work conference, $800 at a jewelry store in June. I'd never received jewelry in June. My birth date isn't until November. By the time I finished, it was 7 p.m. Tyler would be home in an hour, probably with some excuse about late meetings or client dinners. He'd kiss me on the cheek, ask about my day, maybe suggest we order Thai food and watch something on Netflix. He'd lie to my face with the same mouth that I'd been kissing her. I closed the laptop, walked back to the laundry room, and finished folding his shirts. Every single one, perfectly creased, exactly the way he liked them. Because that's the thing about revenge. It's not about the immediate reaction. It's not about the dramatic confrontation where you throw his clothes on the lawn and scream about betrayal. That's what Jenna expected. That's what Tyler probably feared. No, real revenge is about control. It's about having all the information while they think you're clueless. It's about making a plan so airtight, so devastating, that by the time they realize what's happening, it's already too late. Jenna Hartley had called me thinking she'd break me, thinking she'd won. What she'd actually done was hand me the ammunition I needed to destroy them both. And I was going to enjoy every single second of it. That phone call was supposed to be my ending. The moment where the betrayed wife crumbles and the other woman rides off into the sunset with her prize. But here's what Jenna didn't know about me. I don't lose. I don't crumble. And I sure as hell don't let people who've wronged me walk away unscathed. In the courtroom, I'm known for my ability to find the one thread that unravels an entire defense. One small mistake, one overlooked detail, one moment of arrogance, and I pull it until everything falls apart. Tyler and Jenna had just given me an entire tapestry of threads to work with, and I was going to pull every single one until there was nothing left but wreckage. Chapter 2. Know Your Enemy, the Research Phase. The first rule of litigation that I learned as a baby lawyer fresh out of Yale Law School was this: never walk into a courtroom without knowing more about your opponent than they know about themselves. Know their weaknesses, their patterns, their pressure points. Know what they'll say before they say it. And most importantly, know exactly where to strike, so that one blow does the work of 1,000. Jenna Hartley thought she knew me. She'd gotten her information from Tyler, the version of me that he twisted and distorted to justify his betrayal. The cold, workaholic wife who cared more about billable hours than her marriage. But she didn't actually know me. She didn't know what I was capable of when someone made the catastrophic mistake of underestimating me. That first night after the phone call, I didn't confront Tyler. When he came home at 8:30 with apologies about a client dinner running long, I smiled. I asked about his day. I suggested we order from that Italian place he liked. We ate penne alla vodka on the couch while watching some forgettable action movie on Netflix, and the entire time I was performing. Every laugh, every casual touch on his arm, every "How was your day, honey?" It was all a carefully constructed facade while my mind was running through legal strategies like I was prepping for trial. He had no idea. That's how good I'd gotten at compartmentalizing. The next morning, Wednesday, I called in sick to work. First sick day I'd taken in 2 years, and my assistant Jennifer nearly dropped the phone in shock. But I needed time, and I needed privacy. The moment Tyler left for his morning sales calls, I got to work. First stop, social media. I pulled up Jenna Hartley's LinkedIn profile, and there she was, professional headshot, perfectly curated career history, all the corporate buzzwords about driving operational excellence and stakeholder engagement. She'd been at Care Health Solutions for 6 years, working her way up from a coordinator role to regional operations manager. Her profile listed her location as Portland, her alma mater as University of Oregon. Go Ducks, apparently. and she had about 800 connections, which was decent but not impressive. I clicked through to her Facebook profile. Privacy settings weren't as tight as they should have been. I could see her photos, her friends list, her check-ins. There were pictures from that Napa trip in August, her holding a glass of wine at some vineyard. Caption reading, "Sometimes you just need to escape and remember what happiness feels like." The comments were full of her girlfriends asking who she'd gone with, and she'd responded with a winky face emoji. Cute. Real cute. I screenshot everything. Every post from the last year that could establish timeline. Every location tag. Every comment that might be relevant. Then I moved to Instagram. Her account was public. Another mistake. More photos from dates that I could now identify as times she'd been with my husband. A shot from outside the Marriott downtown with the caption, "Thursday vibes from 3 weeks ago." A picture of expensive sushi from Masu, the place Tyler had told me he'd gone to with a client in July. The metadata on the photos even included timestamps and location data. She'd literally created a digital evidence trail of their entire affair. God, arrogance makes people stupid. But the real gold mine came when I started digging into Care Health Solutions' corporate structure. I pulled up their website, their executive team, their company policies, which, conveniently, were publicly available in their investor relations section since they were a publicly traded company. And there it was, buried in their Code of Business Conduct and Ethics document. Section 4.7, Conflicts of Interest and Vendor Relations. I read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Employees are prohibited from engaging in romantic or sexual relationships with vendors, contractors, or business partners where such relationships could create actual or perceived conflicts of interest, compromise professional judgment, or expose the company to liability. Violations of this policy may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. Jenna Hartley had violated corporate policy by sleeping with Tyler, and she documented it in company emails from her company server using company resources. I actually laughed out loud in my empty kitchen. She'd gift-wrapped her own termination and handed it to me with a bow. Next, I needed financial documentation. I logged into our joint bank account and started going through statements from the past year with a fine-tooth comb. Tyler and I had always kept our finances combined. We'd never been the type of couple who split bills 50-50 or maintained separate accounts. Everything went into one pot, and we both pulled from it. It was supposed to be about trust. What I found made my blood boil. March 14th, the day after that Seattle conference where they'd apparently met, $347 at Daniel's Broiler, one of the nicest steakhouses in Seattle. He told me that night he grabbed pizza with a colleague. April 6th, the first Thursday in April, right around when Jenna said things got physical. $218 at the Marriott Portland downtown. Room charge. April 13th, another Marriott charge. $232. Every Thursday for 6 months, 24 Thursdays to be exact, there was a Marriott charge ranging from $200 to $250. While I was working late, building cases, making the money that was paying for his affair, he was using our joint credit card to rent hotel rooms to screw his mistress. The Napa trip was even worse. Flights, hotel, expensive dinners, wine tastings, all on our shared American Express card. Total damage, $4,362. For a trip he told me was a mandatory sales conference. So boring he hadn't even bothered to take many photos to show me. Then there was the jewelry store charge. June 18th, $814 at Tiffany & Company. I checked my jewelry box. Nothing from Tiffany. Nothing from June. That necklace or bracelet, or whatever the hell he'd bought, had gone to her. I downloaded every statement from the past year and saved them to an encrypted flash drive. Printed copies too, because in court, sometimes physical evidence lands harder than digital. Each charge highlighted, dated, categorized. Hotel rooms, restaurants, gifts, a complete financial record of his betrayal, all paid for with marital assets. But I wasn't done yet. HLY blown out like she was heading to a goddamn date instead of a seedy afternoon hookup. Thursday afternoon. Oh, the irony. I drove to downtown Portland and parked across the street from the Marriott. I wasn't planning to confront them. I just needed to see it for myself, to confirm what I already knew. Sure enough, at 2:15 p.m., Tyler's silver Audi pulled into the parking garage. At 2:20, I watched Jenna Hartley walk through the main entrance wearing a tight pencil skirt and heels, her hair freshly blown out like she was heading to a goddamn date instead of a seedy afternoon hookup. I took photos, timestamp photos from my phone with location data embedded. Tyler entering at 2:15, Jenna at 2:20, both of their cars in the parking garage, captured from multiple angles. Then I waited. I sat in my car for 3 hours, drinking cold brew from Stumptown and reading through case files on my laptop, occasionally glancing up at the hotel entrance. At 5:30, Jenna emerged first, walking quickly to her car, checking her phone. At 5:45, Tyler came out, adjusting his tie, looking around like he was worried someone might see him. Too late for that, you son of a bitch. That evening, I hired someone, a forensic accountant named Marcus Chun, who I'd worked with on embezzlement cases. Marcus was a wizard at finding money trails, hidden assets, anything financial that people tried to bury. I called him from my car before driving home. Marcus, it's Kat Morrison. I need your services for a personal matter. Kat, hey, what's going on? I'm getting divorced, I said, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. And I need to know exactly where every penny of our marital assets is, what's been spent, and where it's been spent. I also need a full asset valuation, property, retirement accounts, investments, everything. There was a pause. Marcus had worked with me long enough to know I didn't ask for help unless it was serious. Jesus, Kat. I'm sorry. Yeah, of course. Send me what you have and I'll get started immediately. One more thing, I added. I need this done fast, and I need it done quietly. My husband can't know I'm digging into our finances yet. You got it. How quiet are we talking? Ghost protocol. Nothing he can trace back to me until I'm ready. Consider it done. I sent him everything that night. Every bank statement, every credit card record, every investment account statement I could access. Marcus worked fast. By Monday morning, I had a preliminary report sitting in my encrypted email. And what he'd found was even worse than I'd thought. Tyler had opened a separate savings account 8 months ago, one I didn't know about. He'd been siphoning money from our joint account in small increments, 300 here, 500 there, nothing large enough to trigger my attention, and funneling it into the secret account. Current balance, $23,417. He was building an escape fund, planning his exit, probably waiting for the right time to leave me whenever Jenna finally gave him an ultimatum he couldn't ignore. Marcus had also tracked down every charge, categorized them, and created a timeline that perfectly correlated with Jenna's social media posts and the emails I'd found. Undeniable, irrefutable, the kind of documentation that wins divorce cases before they even start. But the piece de resistance came when I started researching Care Health Solutions more deeply. I wanted to know everything about the company Jenna worked for, understand their corporate culture, their vulnerabilities. I pulled up their recent SEC filings, their earnings reports, their news mentions. Turns out, Care Health Solutions had been under investigation by the Oregon Medical Board just last year for some billing irregularities. Nothing that stuck, but enough to make them hypersensitive about compliance and corporate ethics. Their new CEO, brought in after the scandal, had made a big public deal about restoring integrity and maintaining the highest ethical standards. Perfect! A company desperately trying to protect its reputation would not take kindly to an employee violating ethics policies with a vendor. Especially not when that employee had documented the entire affair in company emails and badmouthed the CEO in the process. I pulled up the company directory and found the name of their chief compliance officer, Patricia Vendetti. I researched her too. Former prosecutor, known for being a hard ass about corporate ethics, had fired multiple employees in the past year for policy violations. She had a reputation for not tolerating any behavior that could expose the company to liability. She was exactly who I needed. By the end of that first week after Jenna's phone call, I had assembled a complete dossier. Financial records proving Tyler had spent thousands of marital dollars on his affair and was hiding assets. Email evidence proving Jenna had violated corporate policy and used company resources for personal business. Photo evidence of their ongoing relationship. Social media posts that corroborated everything. A timeline that left no room for doubt or alternative explanations. I had everything I needed to destroy them both. But I didn't move yet. Because here's the thing about being a litigator, timing is everything. You don't play your hand until you're certain you can win, and you don't strike until you've closed every possible avenue of escape. I needed a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. I needed a divorce attorney who was more ruthless than I was, which was saying something. I called my colleague Sarah Brennan, who worked in our family law division. Sarah, I need a referral. Who's the most aggressive divorce attorney in Portland? That would be Nicole Chinette Morrison and Fields, Sarah said without hesitation. She's brutal. Scorched earth tactics. Doesn't settle unless she's taking her client's soon-to-be ex for everything they've got. Why is this for a client or, oh my God, Kat, are you okay? I will be, I said. Can you get me her number? I met with Nicole Chin the following Tuesday. Her office was in the Pearl District. All glass and steel and expensive modern art on the walls. She was in her late 40s, perfectly tailored suit, the kind of woman who radiated competence and danger in equal measure. I laid out everything. The phone call, the evidence, the financial records, the corporate policy violations. I watched her eyes light up like a kid on Christmas morning. This is, she said, flipping through the documentation I'd compiled, the most well-prepared case I've seen walk through my door in 15 years. You've basically done all my work for me. I'm a litigator, I said with a shrug. I know how to build a case. Clearly. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. So what's your goal here? Quick divorce, clean break? Or do you want to make him hurt? I didn't even hesitate. I want everything. The house, the majority of our assets, spousal support if we can get it. I want him to walk away from this marriage with as little as legally possible. And I want it all documented so thoroughly that he can't fight it without looking like an even bigger asshole than he already is. Nicole smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I can absolutely make that happen. When do you want to file? Not yet, I said. I have one more piece to put in place first. I need to coordinate the timing of the filing with something else. The mistress losing her job? Nicole guessed. She was sharp. Exactly. I want them both to get hit on the same day. Maximum impact. No time for either of them to prepare or support each other. Just complete, simultaneous devastation. Nicole closed the folder and looked at me with something like admiration. You know what? I think we're going to work very well together. Let me know when you're ready to pull the trigger, and I'll have the paperwork ready to file within an hour. I left her office feeling something I hadn't felt since Jenna's phone call. Powerful. In control. Like I'd taken the narrative of my life back from the people who tried to write me out of it. That night, I went home to the house I'd be keeping, to the husband who had no idea the walls were closing in, and I made dinner. Salmon with roasted vegetables, Tyler's favorite. We ate on the back patio, watching the late October sunset paint the Portland sky in shades of orange and pink, and he told me about his day with the same lies he'd been telling for months. How was work? I asked, sipping my wine. Oh, you know, same old. Had a meeting with a new client up in Seattle. Might be a big account. That's great, honey. Liar. He'd been at the Marriott with Jenna. I checked our credit card that afternoon. $238, right on schedule. But I just smiled and nodded and played the role of the oblivious wife. Because that's what hunters do. They watch, they wait, and they strike only when the prey is too exposed to escape. I had identified my enemies. I had researched their vulnerabilities. I had assembled an arsenal of evidence that would obliterate any defense they tried to mount. The trap was built, baited, and ready. All that was left was to spring it at exactly the right moment and watch them destroy themselves in the wreckage. Knowledge is power, they say. But in my experience, Knowledge combined with patience and precision is devastation. And I had all three in abundance. Tyler and Jenna thought they were living in some romantic drama where they were the protagonists, fighting for their love against the obstacle of a cold, career-obsessed wife. What they didn't realize was that they were actually characters in a legal thriller, and I was about to drop the hammer in a way that would redefine the word consequences for both of them. Chapter 3. The trap is set. Strategic moves. There's a moment in every trial when you know you've won. It's not when the jury comes back with a verdict, and it's not even when you deliver your closing argument. It's earlier, sometimes days earlier, when you see the other side realize they've been outmaneuvered. When you watch their confident facade crack and they understand, maybe for the first time, that they never had a chance. That's the moment I live for. The moment when your opponent realizes they've been playing checkers while you've been playing chess. I was going to create that moment for Tyler and Jenna. But first, I had to make sure every piece was positioned exactly where I needed it to be. November rolled in cold and rainy, typical Portland fall weather. Tyler and I had been married for 8 years, which meant I knew his patterns, his routines, his tells. I knew that when he was stressed, he went to the gym more often. I knew that when he felt guilty, he tried to overcompensate with random gestures of affection. And I knew that when he was planning something big, he got quieter, more distracted. He was getting quieter, more distracted, which told me that Jenna was probably pressuring him again. Good. Let her push. Let her make him anxious. Anxious people make mistakes. The first thing I needed to do was secure my financial future before he had any idea what was coming. Marcus Chun, my forensic accountant, had given me a complete picture of our assets. The house, a beautiful 3-bedroom Craftsman in the Laurel Hess neighborhood that we bought 5 years ago, was worth about $850,000 now. We had about $200,000 in equity. Combined retirement accounts totaled roughly $600,000. Savings and checking accounts, excluding his secret fund, had another $70,000. We had 2 cars, his Audi and my BMW X5. Combined value maybe $80,000. All in, we were looking at about $1.8 million in marital assets. Not mega rich, but comfortable. And I wanted as much of it as legally possible. On a Wednesday morning in early November, while Tyler was at a sales meeting in Eugene, I went to our bank, Wells Fargo on Hawthorne, and had a conversation with our personal banker, David Nguyen. David, I need to make some changes to our accounts, I said, sliding into the chair across from his desk. Of course, Mrs. Morrison. What can I help you with? I'd like to move half of our joint savings and checking into a new individual account under just my name. I'd also like to change the beneficiaries on some of our accounts. David's expression flickered with concern. He'd been our banker for 3 years. He knew both Tyler and me. Is everything okay? Does Tyler know about these changes? I gave him my best lawyer smile. Professional. Unreadable. David, I'm going to be filing for divorce very soon. I'm not cleaning out the accounts. I'm taking exactly half, which is legally my right. Tyler can have access to his half at any time. But I need to protect my assets before things get contentious. I'm sure you understand. He nodded slowly. Yes, of course. I'll need you to fill out some paperwork. Within an hour, I'd moved $35,000 into a new individual account. I'd changed the beneficiary on my life insurance policy from Tyler to my sister, Amanda. I updated the beneficiary on my 401k to go to a trust I'd be setting up. Every change was legal, documented, and completely within my rights as a joint account holder. But I left enough money in the joint account that Tyler wouldn't notice anything unusual. $50,000 in checking and savings combined. Enough for bills. Enough that he wouldn't panic and start digging. The key was to be strategic, not reactionary. Take what I needed to protect myself, but not so much that he'd realize the walls were closing in. Next, I documented every asset we owned. I spent an entire Saturday taking photographs of everything in our house. Furniture, appliances, electronics, artwork, even the expensive pots and pans Tyler had insisted on buying from Williams-Sonoma. I photographed serial numbers, receipts, anything that proved ownership and value. I made a complete inventory with estimated values, backed up by online research into replacement costs. Nicole Chin had told me that asset disputes were where divorces got nasty. People fought over the stupidest shit: serving platters, coffee makers, photo albums. I wasn't going to give Tyler any room to claim I'd stolen or hidden anything. Every single item would be documented, valued, and accounted for. I also started subtly moving my personal items, things that had sentimental value, to my office. My grandmother's jewelry, photo albums from my childhood, my Yale Law diploma, a first edition book collection I'd inherited from my dad. Nothing Tyler would miss, but things I couldn't risk losing in some angry confrontation after the papers were served. By mid-November, I'd secured my financial position. Now came the more delicate part: psychological warfare. I started leaving breadcrumbs, little hints that I knew something was wrong, but nothing concrete enough for Tyler to panic. It was a calculated risk, but I needed them to get sloppy. I needed them to make mistakes I could exploit. One night over dinner, I casually mentioned, "You know, I ran into Sarah Brennan from work today, and she was telling me about a case she's working on. A woman whose husband was having an affair, and she had no idea until she checked their credit card statements. Can you imagine? Apparently the guy was using their joint card to pay for hotel rooms. How stupid do you have to be to not cover your tracks?" Tyler went pale. Actually pale. His fork paused halfway to his mouth. "That's wow. Yeah, pretty dumb," he managed. "Right. Like if you're going to cheat, at least use cash or get a separate credit card. Don't leave a paper trail that any lawyer could follow." I smiled at him. Good thing we're not those people. He laughed nervously and changed the subject. But I watched him pull out his phone later that night and frantically start deleting text messages, which was adorable because I'd already made copies of everything weeks ago, and deleting texts after the fact actually looked worse in court than keeping them. Another night, I mentioned that I'd been thinking about updating our estate planning documents. "Why now?" Tyler asked, suspicious. "Oh, just because we're getting older, and I've been reading about people who die without updated wills and their estates get stuck in probate for years. I think we should meet with an attorney and make sure everything's current. Beneficiaries, power of attorney, all of that. I mean, sure, we can do that sometime. How about next month? I can make an appointment." He looked genuinely panicked. "Let's wait until after the holidays. I'm slammed with work right now." Of course he was, because updating estate planning meant sitting down with an attorney and disclosing assets, and he didn't want me to discover his secret savings account or have any reason to start digging into our finances more deeply. The panic was exactly what I wanted. I wanted him distracted. I wanted him making reactive decisions instead of strategic ones. I started being slightly colder. Not dramatically different. I couldn't tip my hand too obviously, but just enough that he'd notice. I stopped initiating physical contact. When he tried to kiss me, I'd turn my head so he got my cheek instead of my lips. When he suggested we watch a movie together, I'd say I had work to finish. Small rejections. Death by 1,000 tiny cuts. His tells became more obvious. He started going to the gym more, 5 times a week instead of 3. He was on his phone constantly, texting. His face lit up with that stupid smile people get when they're talking to someone they're infatuated with. He started picking fights over nothing, leaving dishes in the sink, forgetting to buy milk, anything that would give him justification to storm off and call Jenna to complain about how difficult I was being. It was pathetic, and it was exactly what I needed, because every fight, every text, every moment of increasing tension was pushing him closer to making the decision I needed him to make, to feel justified in the affair, to feel like the victim instead of the villain. That mindset would make him sloppy in the divorce proceedings. Meanwhile, I was working on the other half of my plan, Jenna's professional destruction. I'd spent weeks drafting the perfect complaint to Care Health Solutions. It needed to be detailed enough to trigger an investigation, but not so accusatory that it seemed like a personal vendetta. It needed to be about company policy and corporate liability, not about my hurt feelings. The complaint was 3 pages long, single-spaced, professionally formatted. It read like a legal document, because that's exactly what it was. To Patricia Vendetti, Chief Compliance Officer, Care Health Solutions Re. Employee Ethics Violation, Jenna Hartley, Regional Operations Manager. Dear Ms. Vendetti, I am writing to bring to your attention a serious violation of Care Health Solutions Code of Business Conduct and Ethics, specifically Section 4.7 regarding conflicts of interest and vendor relations. I have documented evidence that Jenna Hartley, Regional Operations Manager, has been engaged in a romantic and sexual relationship with Tyler Morrison, a sales representative for MedTech Solutions, a vendor providing medical equipment to Care Health Solutions, for approximately 1 year. This relationship violates company policy and creates significant liability exposure for Care Health Solutions for the following reasons. 1. Conflict of interest. Ms. Hartley has been involved in purchasing decisions and vendor evaluations while simultaneously involved in a personal relationship with a vendor representative, creating an actual and perceived conflict of interest. 2. Misuse of company resources. Ms. Hartley has used her company email account to conduct personal correspondence related to this relationship, including emails that disparage company leadership and discuss confidential business matters. 3. Liability exposure. This relationship creates potential liability for Care Health Solutions related to improper vendor relationships, hostile work environment claims from other employees, and reputational damage. I have attached documentation supporting these allegations, including timestamped emails from Ms. Hartley's corporate email account financial records, showing vendor payments during the period of the relationship communications, demonstrating the ongoing nature of the relationship. I understand that Care Health Solutions takes ethics violations seriously and trust that this matter will be investigated thoroughly and promptly. I was careful not to mention that I was Tyler's wife. I wanted this to seem like a concerned anonymous tip, maybe from a coworker who discovered the affair, not a personal revenge mission. I used a burner email address I had created specifically for this purpose. Untraceable. I attached selected emails, the ones where Jenna had used her work account to communicate with Tyler, where she'd badmouthed her CEO, where she discussed company business inappropriately. I attached a timeline showing the correlation between their relationship and vendor purchasing decisions. I made it look like someone had done deep investigative work and was genuinely concerned about corporate ethics. Because here's the thing. Companies don't fire people for having affairs. They fire people for creating liability. And Jenna had created enormous liability for Care Health Solutions. The evidence made that clear. But I didn't send it yet. The timing had to be perfect. I needed to coordinate 3 things happening simultaneously. Tyler being served with divorce papers, Jenna's complaint being delivered to Care Health Solutions, and me being positioned in such a way that I couldn't be blamed for any of it. The key was plausible deniability. If anyone asked how Care Health found out about the affair, it couldn't lead back to me. So I waited. I watched. I documented every new hotel charge, every lie, every Thursday afternoon disappearance. By late November, I had added another 6 weeks of evidence to my already overwhelming case file. Thanksgiving came. We spent it with Tyler's parents in Salem, and I played the role of dutiful daughter-in-law perfectly. I brought homemade cranberry sauce. I complimented his mother's turkey. I laughed at his father's bad jokes. I held Tyler's hand across the dinner table while his mom gushed about what a beautiful couple we were. "You two are still so in love," she said, smiling. "It's wonderful to see." Tyler squeezed my hand and gave me this look, guilty and sad and conflicted. For a second, I almost felt bad for him. Almost. Then I remembered Jenna's phone call, her laughing voice telling me my husband was never coming back, and the sympathy evaporated. "We're very lucky," I said, squeezing back. "Aren't we, honey?" "Very lucky," he echoed, and I could hear the lie in his voice. After Thanksgiving, things accelerated. I could feel Tyler getting more restless. Jenna must have been putting serious pressure on him because he started dropping hints about needing space and feeling like we'd grown apart. One Sunday morning in early December, he sat me down in the living room with a serious expression. "Kat, I think we need to talk." Here it was. He was going to try to leave me, try to control the narrative, try to make it seem mutual, so he didn't have to be the bad guy. "Okay," I said, sitting across from him on the couch. "What's on your mind?" I feel like we've been disconnected lately. You're always working, I'm always traveling, and I don't know if we're making each other happy anymore." I tilted my head, plain concerned. "Are you unhappy?" "I don't know. Maybe. I just feel like we're going through the motions. Like we're roommates instead of partners." This was straight from Jenna's script. He told her the same thing, and now he was testing it on me, seeing if I'd fight for him or let him go. I let the silence hang for a moment. Then I said, "If you're unhappy, Tyler, then we should figure out why and fix it. Marriage is work. It's not always easy, but it's worth fighting for. Don't you think?" He looked uncomfortable. "Yeah, of course. I need some time to think." "Time to think about what?" "About us. About whether this is working." I nodded slowly. "Okay, take all the time you need. But Tyler, if you're thinking about leaving, I need you to be honest with me. Don't string me along. Don't make me wonder. Just be straight with me." The irony of me saying those words wasn't lost on me, but I kept my face perfectly serious. "I will," he said. "I promise." Another lie, but it didn't matter, because I wasn't waiting for his decision anymore. I'd already made mine. That night, I sent an encrypted message to Nicole Chun. "Ready to file. Let's coordinate for the 2nd week of December. I'll confirm the exact date." Then I sent the complaint about Jenna to Patricia Vendetti at Care Health Solutions using my burner email, but I scheduled it to send on a delay, December 10th at 9 a.m. That would give HR time to investigate. Called Jenna in for a meeting, and likely terminate her before end of business that same day. I coordinated with Nicole to have Tyler served at his office on December 10th at 3 p.m., after Jenna would have already been fired, but before he'd have a chance to hear about it from her. The trap was set, every piece in position. Tyler had no idea divorce papers were coming. Jenna had no idea her career was about to implode. And neither of them had any idea that I'd orchestrated the entire sequence of events to hit them simultaneously, ensuring maximum devastation and minimum ability to support each other. December 10th was 2 weeks away. 2 weeks of continuing to play the role of a clueless wife. 2 weeks of watching Tyler lie to my face while I smiled and nodded. 2 weeks of letting them think they'd gotten away with it. But I could wait. I'd been waiting for months already. What was 2 more weeks when I knew that on December 10th, their entire world was going to detonate in spectacular fashion. The night before I scheduled everything, I stood in my kitchen making coffee and thought about that phone call from Jenna. Her laughing voice, her absolute certainty that she'd won. She thought calling me was a power move. She thought she was breaking me, claiming her prize, forcing the issue. What she'd actually done was declare war on someone who spent every single day professionally destroying people who underestimated her. And now I was about to show her exactly what happened when you picked a fight with Catherine Morrison. Tyler walked into the kitchen, wrapping his arms around me from behind, kissing my neck. "Morning, beautiful." I leaned back into him, let him hold me. "Morning. I love you," he said, and I could hear that he was trying to convince himself as much as me. "I love you too," I replied, and for the first time in our entire marriage, I meant it as a farewell. 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks, and they both learned the most important lesson I'd ever teach them. Never, ever underestimate the woman you've betrayed, because she might just be smarter, more patient, and infinitely more dangerous than you ever imagined. And by the time you realize your mistake, she'll have already destroyed everything you thought you'd won. Chapter 4. Execution. Watching the dominoes fall. December 10th started like any other Wednesday morning. Tyler's alarm went off at 6:30. He hit snooze twice before finally dragging himself out of bed. I listened to him shower, brush his teeth, rifle through his closet for one of the dress shirts I'd stopped ironing weeks ago. He came back into the bedroom smelling like expensive cologne, Tom Ford, the one Jenna had probably told him she liked, and kissed me on the forehead. "Have a good day," he said. "You too," I replied, not opening my eyes. I heard him grab his keys, his laptop bag, his coffee thermos. Heard the front door close. Heard his Audi start up in the driveway and pull away into the rainy Portland morning. I lay there for another 10 minutes, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain hammer against the windows. Then I got up, made myself a proper breakfast, scrambled eggs, avocado toast, fresh squeezed orange juice, and got dressed for work. Black suit, white blouse, my favorite Louboutin heels. Wore paint, basically, because today was the day I'd been planning for 6 weeks, and I was going to look absolutely perfect for it. At 8:45, I texted Nicole Chen, "It's go time." She responded immediately, "Papers are ready. Process server will be at his office at 3 p.m. Are you sure about the timing?" "Positive," I typed back. "The other domino falls at 9 a.m. I want them both hit before either one knows what's happening to the other." "You're diabolical." "I love it. Good luck today." I drove to my office at Davidson and Reed, went through the motions of checking emails and reviewing case files, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. At 9 a.m. exactly, my scheduled email to Patricia Vendetti at CareHealth Solutions would deliver. She'd open it, read the complaint, review the attached evidence, and immediately escalate to HR and legal. By 9:30, they'd be pulling Jenna's email records, confirming everything I'd alleged. By 10, they'd be calling Jenna into a meeting. I couldn't focus on work. At 9:15, I gave up pretending and told my assistant Jennifer I was working from home the rest of the day. Personal matter, I said. She didn't ask questions. I drove to a coffee shop in the Pearl District, Courier Coffee, one of those hipster places with exposed brick and pour-over coffee that cost $7, and set up my laptop in a corner booth. I ordered an Americano and waited. At 10:30, my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Catherine Morrison? My heart rate kicked up. I'd been expecting this, but seeing it actually happen was different. Yes, I replied. Who's this? This is Patricia Vendetti, Chief Compliance Officer at Care Health Solutions. I received a complaint this morning regarding one of our employees, and I need to verify some information. Do you have a few minutes to speak? So she tracked me down, probably through the attached financial documents that had our joint names on them, or maybe through Tyler's vendor profile. It didn't matter. I'd anticipated this. Of course. I typed. I'm happy to help however I can. My phone rang immediately. I let it ring twice before answering. This is Catherine. Mrs. Morrison, thank you for taking my call. Patricia Vendetti had a sharp voice, no nonsense. Former prosecutor, I remembered from my research. I'm calling regarding the complaint filed against Jenna Hartley this morning. The email came from an anonymous source, but the documentation references you and your husband, Tyler Morrison. I need to ask, are you aware of this complaint? Time to be very, very careful. I couldn't admit to filing it. That would make it look like a personal vendetta and potentially weaken its credibility. But I also needed to confirm the information was accurate. Ms. Vendetti, I recently discovered that my husband has been having an affair with someone from your company. I didn't file any complaint, but if someone else did, the information they provided is likely accurate. I have my own documentation of the relationship. I see. A pause. Mrs. Morrison, I'm very sorry for what you're going through. However, I need to ask, the emails attached to the complaint, how would someone outside our company have access to those? My husband and I share a cloud storage account, I said, which was true. His emails are backed up there. If someone accessed those backups, they would have seen his correspondence with Miss Hartley, including the emails from her work account. Another pause. I could practically hear her weighing whether to press further or accept the explanation. I understand. Mrs. Morrison, I want to be transparent with you. We take these allegations very seriously. The evidence provided shows clear violations of our corporate ethics policy. We're conducting a full investigation, but based on what we've seen so far, this is a termination-level offense. I wanted to let you know that we'll be taking appropriate action. I appreciate that, Ms. Vendetti. For what it's worth, I'm not interested in causing problems for your company. I just want the truth documented. The truth is documented, she said firmly. And Mrs. Morrison, I'm sorry you're going through this. No one deserves this kind of betrayal. Thank you, I said and meant it. We hung up. I sat there staring at my laptop screen, my untouched coffee getting cold. It was happening. It was actually happening. At 11:15, I got a text from Nicole, just confirmed with the process server. He'll be at Morrison's office at 3 p.m. sharp. Are you going to be somewhere you can decompress after? I'm at a coffee shop. I'll be fine, I replied. Kat, seriously, Today is going to be intense. Do you have someone you can call? A friend. I thought about that. My sister Amanda was at work. My best friend from law school, Rebecca, lived in San Francisco. My parents were retired in Arizona. I'd been so focused on the plan that I hadn't really thought about what I'd need emotionally once it executed. I'll be okay. I typed. I've been preparing for this for weeks. Preparation is different from reality. Just take care of yourself and call me if you need anything. I ordered another coffee, opened my laptop, pretended to work on case files, but really just refreshed my email obsessively, waiting for something, anything, to confirm that Jenna's termination was happening. At 12:30, I got what I was waiting for, though not in the way I expected. My phone rang. Tyler. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hey, what's up? Kat. His voice was tight, stressed. Have you talked to anyone at Jenna's company today? My pulse spiked, but I kept my voice casual. What? No, why would I? Because she just got fired. They called her into a meeting this morning and terminated her on the spot. Something about ethics violations and using company email inappropriately. And she's saying that someone sent a complaint to her boss with emails between us, and she's convinced you did it. I let the silence hang for a beat. Tyler, I don't even know where she works. How would I file a complaint with a company I know nothing about? I don't know, but the timing is really suspicious, Kat. She just lost her job, and now she's freaking out, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell happened. The concern in his voice, concern for her, not for me, not for our marriage, made something cold and hard settle in my chest. Well, I didn't do anything, I said. But honestly, Tyler, if she was violating her company's policies by sleeping with a vendor, which is you, by the way, then maybe she got herself fired. That's not my problem. Jesus, Kat, she's devastated. This was her career. And what about my marriage, Tyler? Was that just collateral damage while you two were building your great love story? Silence. Long, heavy silence. What are you talking about? He finally said, but his voice had changed. Wary now. I know, Tyler. I've known for weeks. About Jenna, about the affair, about all of it. I heard him suck in a breath. Kat, I don't want to do this over the phone, I said, cutting him off. We'll talk when you get home tonight. I can come home right now. We should. No. You have a full day of work ahead of you. I'll see you tonight. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking. That had been harder than I expected. Hearing him defend her, hearing the panic in his voice, not because our marriage was over, but because his mistress had lost her job. It crystallized something for me. Whatever love I'd had for Tyler Morrison had died the moment Jenna made that phone call. What I felt now was just the execution of a plan. I checked the time. 2:45. 15 minutes until the process server would arrive at Tyler's office. I ordered a third coffee, even though I absolutely did not need more caffeine. My leg was bouncing under the table. I felt like I was waiting for a jury verdict, that horrible suspended animation between closing arguments and the announcement that would change everything. At 3:07, my phone buzzed. Nicole, papers served. He took it about as well as expected, which is to say, not well. Process server said he went pale, asked if this was a joke, then locked himself in his office. It's done, Kat. It's done. I sat there in that coffee shop, surrounded by people working on their laptops and having casual conversations about their perfectly normal lives, and I felt the weight of the last 6 weeks lift off my shoulders. It was done. The trap had sprung. Tyler had been served. Jenna had been fired. Everything I'd meticulously planned had executed exactly as designed. My phone rang again. Tyler, of course. You served me with divorce papers? His voice was shaking. Anger, shock, fear all mixed together. At my fucking office, Kat? In front of my colleagues? Yes, I said simply. Are you insane? We just talked an hour ago, and you didn't think to mention you were filing for divorce. Why would I? You didn't think to mention you were fucking your mistress for a year. I figured turnabout was fair play. This is Jesus Christ. Kat, we can work this out. We can go to counseling. We don't need to blow up our entire marriage over a mistake. A mistake? He called a year-long affair a mistake. Tyler, you used our joint credit card to rent hotel rooms to cheat on me. You opened a secret bank account and hid $23,000 from me. You let your mistress call me on the phone to gloat about stealing my husband. This isn't a mistake. This is a pattern of betrayal, and I'm done. Silence. Then, how do you know about the bank account? Because I'm a litigator, Tyler. Finding hidden assets is literally part of my job description. Did you really think I wouldn't look? You've been planning this. It wasn't a question. You've been planning this for weeks, haven't you? Acting normal, pretending everything was fine, while you were building a case against me. Yes, that's psychotic, Kat. No, I said calmly. That's strategic. There's a difference. You should read through the divorce filing when you get a chance. My attorney was very thorough. We're asking for the house, 70% of our assets, and spousal support. We have documentation of every dollar you spent on your affair, every lie you told, every hotel room you rented with marital funds. We have emails, text messages, financial records, photographs. We have everything, Tyler. And unless you want this to go to trial where all of that becomes public record, I suggest you settle. You can't do this. I already did. The papers are filed. The process has started. And for what it's worth, I coordinated it so that Jenna lost her job the same day you got served. I wanted you both to feel it at the same time. No cushion. No one to run to for support. Just consequences. You got her fired. His voice went up an octave. How could you do that to her? And there it was. Even now, even facing divorce and financial ruin, he was worried about her. I didn't get her fired, Tyler. She got herself fired by violating her company's ethics policy. I just made sure the right people knew about it. There's a difference. You're a monster. No, I said, and my voice was ice cold now. I'm someone who doesn't let people walk all over her. You and Jenna made the choice to have an affair. You made the choice to betray me, to lie to me, to use marital assets to fund your relationship. These are just the consequences of those choices. Don't blame me for your decisions. I loved you, Kat. No, you didn't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. What you loved was the comfortable life I helped build, the financial security, the nice house, the respectability. But you wanted something else on the side, and you thought you could have both. You can't. And now you're learning that the hard way. I could hear him breathing hard on the other end of the line. What happens now? Now you get a lawyer. You review the settlement offer. And you decide if you want to settle quietly or if you want me to drag every detail of your affair through court proceedings where it becomes public record. Your choice. I need time to think. You have 30 days to respond to the filing. Use them wisely. I paused. Oh, and Tyler, I'd suggest you find somewhere else to stay tonight. I'm having the locks changed on the house this afternoon. You can't kick me out of my own house. It's not your house. It's marital property that I have sole possession of as of 3 p.m. today. Check page 7 of the divorce filing. My attorney already got a temporary order. Your stuff will be boxed up and available for pickup tomorrow. You'll get an email with the details. Another long silence. Then quietly, I never meant to hurt you. Yes, you did. You just didn't mean to get caught. There's a difference. I hung up. My coffee was cold again. My hands had stopped shaking. I felt empty. Not sad, not angry, just empty. Like I'd been running on adrenaline and strategic planning for so long that now that it was over, I didn't know what to feel. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. You fucking bitch. You ruined my life. I lost my job because of you. Tyler is a mess because of you. I hope you're happy. Jenna. Of course. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I screenshot it and forwarded it to Nicole with a note. Mistress is harassing me. Adding to the file. Nicole responded immediately. Perfect. Keep any messages she sends. We can get a restraining order if she continues. I blocked Jenna's number and went back to staring at my laptop. The coffee shop was getting crowded with the late afternoon rush. People grabbing lattes on their way home from work, students setting up for evening study sessions. Normal people living normal lives. I wondered what that felt like right now. At 4:30, the locksmith I'd hired texted to confirm he'd changed all the locks on the house and left the new keys with my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who I'd asked to hold them for me. Tyler's belongings, clothes, toiletries, personal items had been boxed up by a service I'd hired and were being stored in the garage. Professional, efficient, no drama. At 5, I got an email from Marcus Chun, my forensic accountant, with the final asset valuation and detailed breakdown of marital property. Everything itemized, everything valued, everything ready for the settlement negotiations. The email ended with, Kat, you got an airtight case here. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've rarely seen documentation this thorough. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. Congratulations, if that's the right word. At 5:30, Nicole called. How are you holding up? She asked. I'm okay. Surprisingly okay, actually. Tyler called me. Already? Yeah. He's panicking. Wants to know if we can negotiate. I told him to get his own attorney and have them contact me. Standard procedure. What do you think he'll do? Honestly, I think he'll settle. The evidence against him is overwhelming, and taking this to trial would be expensive and humiliating. He's a salesman. He understands cost-benefit analysis. Fighting this would cost him more than settling. Good. Kat, I have to ask, are you sure you want to push for 70% of the assets? A judge might think that's aggressive. Nicole, he spent thousands of dollars of our money on his affair. He hid assets. He violated the financial trust of our marriage in every possible way. I'm not being aggressive. I'm being fair. Okay, just wanted to make sure you thought it through. I've thought about nothing else for 6 weeks. She laughed. Yeah, I believe that. All right, I'll wait to hear from his attorney. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Order some takeout, watch a trashy movie, drink some wine. You've earned it. We hung up, and I realized I was exhausted. Not physically tired, emotionally drained. Like I'd been holding my breath for weeks and could finally exhale. I closed my laptop, threw away my cold coffee, and drove home. The house was quiet when I walked in, empty in a way it had never felt before. Tyler's presence, his shoes by the door, His jacket on the hook, his laptop on the coffee table was gone. Just gone. Like he'd been erased. I walked through each room, testing the new locks, checking that the locksmith had done the job properly. Everything was secure. Everything was mine now. I poured myself a glass of wine, an expensive Napa cab that Tyler and I had been saving for a special occasion. Fuck it. This was a special occasion. I took the bottle and my glass out to the back patio and sat in the cold December evening, watching the rain, and let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing for weeks. Relief, anger, grief for the marriage I'd thought I had, satisfaction at the plan's execution, emptiness at what came next. My phone buzzed. Amanda, my sister. Holy shit, did you actually do it? How did you find out? I asked. Tyler called Mom crying. Said you filed for divorce and got his girlfriend fired on the same day. Mom called me freaking out asking what the hell happened. I told her I'd talk to you and call her back. So what the hell happened? I laughed. Actually laughed. It's a long story. I've got time. Start talking. So I told her. Everything. The phone call from Jenna, the evidence gathering, the strategic planning, the coordinated timing of the divorce filing and her termination. Amanda listened without interrupting, and when I finished, there was a long silence. Kat, she finally said, that is the most badass thing I've ever heard. I'm simultaneously terrified of you and insanely proud. Are you okay? Yeah, I said and realized I meant it. Yeah, I'm actually okay. Do you need me to come up there? I can take a few days off work. No, I'm good. I just need to process everything. Okay, but I'm serious. If you need anything, call me. Day or night. I'm here. I know. Thank you. After we hung up, I sat there for another hour, drinking wine and watching the rain. Somewhere across town, Tyler was probably holed up in some hotel room or on Jenna's couch, trying to figure out how his life had imploded in a single day. Jenna was probably crying, angry, blaming me for consequences she'd brought on herself. And me, I was sitting in my house, drinking expensive wine, planning my next move. Because this wasn't over. The papers were filed, but the settlement negotiations would take weeks, maybe months. There would be court dates, mediation sessions, arguments over asset division. But I'd already won. The outcome was inevitable. Tyler would settle because fighting would destroy him financially and professionally. Jenna would fade into the background, unhireable in her industry, stuck with a man who could barely support himself, let alone both of them. And I would move forward, stronger, smarter, and infinitely more careful about who I trusted. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from a number I didn't recognize at first, then realized was my mother's new cell. Catherine and Morrison, you call me right now and explain what is happening. I smiled, drained my wine glass, and stood up to go inside. Tomorrow I'd call my mother and deal with the family fallout. Tomorrow I'd start thinking about what my post-divorce life would look like. But tonight I was going to order the most expensive sushi delivery in Portland, take a hot bath, and sleep in the center of my king-size bed, knowing that I'd executed the most comprehensive takedown of my legal career. Jenna had called me thinking she'd broken me. Tyler had betrayed me thinking I'd never find out. They both underestimated me in the most spectacular way possible. And they both learned, in the same devastating moment, that Catherine Morrison doesn't break. She doesn't forgive. She doesn't forget. She destroys. Methodically, legally, and absolutely. Chapter 5. The Aftermath, My Victory and Their Ashes. 3 months after December 10th, I sat in a conference room at Nicole Chen's office, signing the final divorce settlement. Tyler sat across from me, his lawyer, some mid-tier family attorney named Greg Hutchins, who clearly told him multiple times that fighting this was a bad idea, shuffling papers and looking defeated. Tyler himself looked like he'd aged 5 years in 12 weeks. Dark circles under his eyes, suit slightly wrinkled, hair that needed cutting. He wouldn't make eye contact with me. Good. Nicole slid the final document across the table. "This is it," she said. "Once you both sign, it goes to the judge for approval. Given that this is an uncontested settlement, approval should come within a week. You'll be officially divorced by the end of March." I picked up the pen, a mont blank my father had given me when I made law review at Yale, and signed my name with a flourish. Catherine A. Morrison. Soon to be just Catherine Anderson again, reclaiming my maiden name like I was shedding a skin that no longer fit. Tyler signed too, his signature shaky and small. And just like that, 8 years of marriage were reduced to a legal document and a property settlement. The house was mine, sole ownership, no buyout required because Tyler had violated the financial sanctity of our marriage by using marital funds for his affair. The judge had agreed that equitable distribution in this case meant I kept the primary marital asset. I got 68% of our financial assets. Not quite the 70 I'd asked for, but close enough that Nicole had advised taking it rather than fighting for the extra 2%. $408,000 in retirement accounts, savings, and investment portfolios. Tyler walked away with $242,000. I got my BMW. He got his Audi. Fair enough. And the kicker, the beautiful, poetic justice kicker, was the spousal support. Because Tyler had been the lower earner in our marriage, and because I could prove he'd squandered marital assets on his affair, the judge had ordered him to pay me $1,200 a month for 3 years. Not a fortune, but enough that every single month he'd be reminded of what he'd lost. His attorney had argued against it, obviously. But Nicole had presented our evidence. The hotel charges, the gifts, the secret bank account, the complete financial betrayal, and the judge had looked at Tyler like he was something scraped off the bottom of a shoe. "Mr. Morrison," the judge had said during our settlement hearing, "you used your wife's money, because that's what marital funds are, to conduct an extramarital affair. You hid assets. You violated every financial trust in your marriage. Mrs. Morrison is entitled to compensation for that breach of trust. Motion for spousal support granted." I'd almost felt bad for him in that moment. Almost. Now, sitting in the conference room watching him sign away his claim to the life we'd built, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no residual love. Just the cold satisfaction of a case closed successfully. "Mr. Morrison," Nicole said, "all business. You have 30 days to remove any remaining personal items from the property. After that, anything left behind becomes Mrs. Morrison's property to dispose of as she sees fit." "Clear. Clear," Tyler mumbled. "And just to reiterate, the restraining order against Ms. Hartley remains in effect. She is not permitted to contact Mrs. Morrison directly or indirectly. Any violation will result in criminal charges. Please make sure Ms. Hartley understands that." Tyler's jaw tightened, but he nodded. We stood. Tyler's attorney gathered his papers quickly, clearly eager to get out of there. Tyler hesitated, looking at me for the first time since we'd sat down. "Cat, Don't," I said quietly. "There's nothing left to say. We're done. Move on with your life." He opened his mouth like he wanted to argue, then closed it, nodded, walked out. Nicole waited until the door closed behind them. Then she turned to me with the biggest smile I'd seen on her face in months. "Holy shit, Cat. We absolutely destroyed him." "We did our jobs," I said, but I was smiling too. No, this was beyond just doing our jobs. This was artistry. I've been practicing family law for 23 years, and I have never seen someone execute a divorce strategy this perfectly. From the evidence gathering to the timing to the settlement negotiations, you didn't miss a single beat. I'm a litigator. Strategy is what I do. Still, most people in your situation would have confronted their spouse immediately, had some big emotional blowout, and torpedoed their own case in the process. You stayed cold. You stayed smart. And you got everything you wanted. She paused. How do you feel? I thought about that. Free, I finally said. I feel free. And I did. Walking out of that office building into the late March sunshine, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weight of the betrayal, the planning, the execution, the legal proceedings, all of it lifted. I was free of Tyler, free of the lies, free of the life I'd been living that had turned out to be a complete fiction. I got in my BMW and drove home, my home now, legally and completely. And as I pulled into the driveway, I realized I was excited about the future for the first time since Jenna's phone call. The house felt different now. I'd redecorated in February, after the settlement had been negotiated but before the final signing. New paint in the living room, a soft gray blue instead of the beige Tyler had insisted on. New furniture in the bedroom, a gorgeous upholstered bed frame, and matching nightstands that were mine, chosen by me, reflecting my taste instead of our taste. I'd removed every trace of Tyler from the space. Every photo, every gift he'd given me, every reminder of our marriage. Donated most of it, threw away the rest. What remained was a house that felt like mine, a space I'd rebuilt into something new. I poured myself a glass of champagne. I'd been saving a bottle of Veuve Clicquot for this exact moment, and walked out to the back patio. It was a beautiful afternoon. Cherry blossoms starting to bloom in the neighbor's yard, the sky that perfect Pacific Northwest blue you only get a few times a year. My phone buzzed. Amanda. Well, it's done, I said. Signed, sealed, soon to be delivered to the judge for final approval. Oh my God. Kat, how do you feel? Honestly, really good. Better than I expected. I'm so proud of you. You handled this like an absolute boss. Most people would have fallen apart. You orchestrated a masterpiece. I had good motivation, I said dryly. So what now? What's next for the newly single Katherine Anderson? I don't know yet. Work, definitely. Maybe travel. Maybe dating eventually, though that feels like a million years away right now. You should celebrate. Seriously. You earned this. I'm drinking champagne on my patio at 3 in the afternoon. I'd say that's celebrating. She laughed. Fair. Okay, I'll let you enjoy your moment. But dinner soon. I want to hear all the details. Absolutely. Love you. Love you too. Congratulations on your divorce. Only Amanda could make that sentence sound genuinely celebratory. I sat there for a while, sipping champagne and thinking about the past 4 months. About how completely my life had changed since that Tuesday afternoon in September when Jenna had called. I thought about Tyler, probably back in some depressing apartment, explaining to Jenna for the 1000th time why he couldn't afford to take her out to nice dinners anymore, why they had to cut back on everything, why his ex-wife's spousal support payments were killing his budget. I wondered if they were happy, if the affair fog had cleared enough for them to realize that what they'd had in secret, the excitement, the forbidden nature of it, was completely different from the reality of a relationship built on betrayal and financial stress. I didn't know, and honestly, I didn't care enough to find out. What I did know, from mutual friends who couldn't help but gossip, was that Jenna was still unemployed. She'd applied to dozens of positions in her field, but the termination from Care Health Solutions had apparently made her untouchable. Her LinkedIn profile had gone quiet. Her Instagram, which used to be full of professional accomplishments and carefully curated brunch photos, now only showed occasional posts of her and Tyler looking significantly less glamorous than the Napa trip photos. Word had gotten around. Portland's professional community was smaller than people thought, and when someone got fired for ethics violations related to an affair with a vendor, people talked. Her reputation was destroyed, and no amount of time was going to fully repair it. And Tyler, Tyler had been demoted. Not officially. His company didn't call it that, but his territory had been restructured, and he'd lost several of his major accounts. His income had dropped by about 30%. Between that and the spousal support payments and the loss of the house equity and the legal fees, he was financially crippled. I'd heard through the grapevine that he tried to sell the Audi and downgrade to something cheaper, but couldn't get out of the lease without a massive penalty. Every decision he'd made during the affair, the secret bank account that had been discovered and split in the divorce, the expensive gifts that had been documented and used against him, the hotel charges that had proven the affair's timeline, had come back to haunt him. Meanwhile, I'd gotten a promotion in January. Senior partner at Davidson and Reed, the youngest woman to ever make senior partner at the firm. My managing partner, Richard Davidson himself, had called me into his office the day after my settlement hearing. "Kat, I'm going to be direct," he'd said. "I know you're going through a divorce. I know it's been difficult, but your work hasn't suffered. If anything, you've been more focused than ever. The Jennings case you closed in December was brilliant. The Hartwell deposition in February was a masterclass in cross-examination. You're operating at a level that frankly makes some of our senior partners look like amateurs." "Thank you, Richard. So here's what I'm proposing. We're making you senior partner. Full equity stake, corner office, your pick of associates to build your own team. You've earned it. What do you say?" I'd said yes, obviously. And the promotion had come with a substantial raise. Enough that Tyler's spousal support payments felt like pocket change. Enough that I'd taken the Napa trip money out of my settlement funds and booked myself a 2-week vacation to Italy in May. Venice, Florence, Rome, the Amalfi Coast. First-class flights, 5-star hotels, Michelin-starred restaurants. Solo travel, on my terms, with my money. The Italy trip was 3 weeks away now, and I couldn't wait. I'd been working nonstop for months, through the divorce proceedings, through the promotion, through the complete reconstruction of my life. I'd earned a break. I'd earned some joy. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number, and my stomach clenched for a second before I opened it. "Hey, Kat, it's Rebecca from Yale. Been thinking about you. Heard through the law school grapevine about your divorce. I'm so sorry. If you ever want to talk or visit SF, my door is always open. Proud of you for handling it with such grace. Rebecca Chen, we'd been study partners in law school, stayed close for a few years after graduation, then drifted apart as life got busy. The fact that my divorce had made it to the Yale Law School gossip circuit was both embarrassing and kind of impressive. I texted back. "Thanks, Beck. I'm doing really well, actually. Senior partner now, taking a solo trip to Italy next month, living my best divorce life. Would love to visit SF sometime soon. Senior partner. Kat, that's amazing. And Italy. Look at you thriving. Yes, please visit. We'll paint the town red." It felt good, having people reach out, having friends celebrate my success instead of pitying my divorce. Because that's what it was, a success. Not the marriage ending, but how I'd handled it. How I'd refused to be the victim. How I'd taken control and reshaped my life into something better. As the sun started to set, painting the Portland sky in shades of orange and pink, I thought about Jenna's phone call one more time. That moment when she'd laughed and told me Tyler was never coming back to me. The cruelty in her voice. The absolute certainty that she'd won. If I could talk to her now, which I couldn't, restraining order and all, I'd tell her thank you. Thank you for being so arrogant that you called me personally. Thank you for using your work email to conduct an affair with a vendor. Thank you for underestimating me so completely that you handed me every piece of ammunition I needed to destroy both of your lives. Because here's what Jenna didn't understand. She didn't take Tyler from me. She freed me from a marriage I'd been sleepwalking through with a man who'd never valued me the way I deserved. She thought she was winning a prize. What she actually won was a financially ruined, professionally diminished, emotionally broken man who'd proven he'd betray anyone for his own gratification. That was her prize. A man who'd cheat, who'd lie, who'd hide money, who'd let her lose her career and then complain about having to support her on his reduced income. She got exactly what she deserved. And me, I got the house. I got the assets. I got the promotion. I got my freedom. I got to wake up every morning in a space that was entirely mine, make decisions that were entirely mine, build a life that was entirely mine. The phone call was supposed to destroy me. Instead, it transformed me. I finished my champagne and went inside. Made myself a beautiful dinner. Pan-seared salmon, roasted vegetables, arugula salad with lemon vinaigrette, and ate it at my dining room table while reading a book I'd been meaning to get to for months. No TV for background noise. No phone distractions. Just me, my meal, and the quiet satisfaction of a life reclaimed. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed, I got one final text. Nicole, judge approved the settlement. It's official. You're divorced. Congratulations, Kat. You're free. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. New haircut I'd gotten last week. Face mask I was treating myself to, the confident expression of someone who'd been through hell and come out stronger, and smiled. I'm free. I said out loud, testing the words. They felt true. The next morning, I went to the Multnomah County Courthouse and picked up my official divorce decree. The clerk handed it to me in a manila envelope, and I walked out into the spring morning feeling like I was walking into a completely new life. I stopped at Stumptown Coffee, my favorite local roaster, and ordered the most expensive drink on the menu. Sat at an outdoor table watching Portland wake up around me. Young professionals hurrying to work. Students skateboarding to class. Couples holding hands. Life continuing on, oblivious to the fact that my entire world had been rebuilt in the last 6 months. My phone rang. Richard Davidson. Kat, morning. Are you free for lunch today? I want to discuss the Anderson case. I think you'd be perfect to lead it, and it's a major client. Big visibility, bigger payout. I'm free, I said. What time? Noon at Jake's. My treat. Sounds great. See you there. This was my life now. Major cases, corner office, lunches with the managing partner. Professional respect, financial security, complete autonomy. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed for, was finally paying off in ways that had nothing to do with being someone's wife. I thought about all the people who'd asked me, over the years, when Tyler and I were going to have kids, when we were going to start our real life together, as if my career was just a placeholder until I fulfilled my supposed destiny of motherhood and domesticity. I'd always smiled and said someday, while internally bristling at the implication that my accomplishments weren't enough, that my life wasn't valid unless it included children and complete devotion to family. Well, now I had my answer. This was my real life. This, the career, the success, the independence, was what I was meant for. Not some compromise where I dimmed my own light to make a mediocre man feel important. I finished my coffee and drove to my office at Davidson and Reed. Walked through the lobby, past the reception desk where everyone greeted me as Ms. Morrison, though I'd be changing that to Ms. Anderson once the name change was processed, and up to the 5th floor where the senior partners' offices were located. My new office was magnificent. Corner suite, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Portland, enough space for a full conference table in addition to my desk. My nameplate was already on the door. Catherine Morrison, senior partner. Soon to be Catherine Anderson, senior partner. My assistant, Jennifer, was already there with my morning briefing. Good morning. Coffee's on your desk. Your 9 o'clock deposition prep files are laid out, and you have 3 new client intake requests that came in overnight. Also, congratulations on the divorce being finalized. I hope that's appropriate to say. I know it's weird to congratulate someone on a divorce, but given the circumstances, it seems like a win. I laughed. It's absolutely appropriate. Thank you, Jennifer. Oh, and these came for you. She gestured to a massive bouquet of flowers on the conference table. They arrived 10 minutes ago. I walked over and opened the card. They were from Amanda. To new beginnings and old badasses. Love you, sis. I smiled, genuinely smiled, and got to work. The weeks that followed were busy in the best possible way. I threw myself into the Anderson case. A complex corporate litigation that would probably take 8 months to a year to resolve but would net the firm millions in fees. I mentored 2 junior associates who'd been assigned to my team. I started running again, something I'd let slip during my marriage. I reconnected with old friends, made new ones, built a social life that was entirely separate from Tyler and Kat, the couple. And I stopped defining myself by what had been done to me. That was the key, I realized. 4 months after Jenna's phone call, I'd been the wronged wife, the betrayed spouse, the woman whose husband had cheated. Even in my own revenge planning, I'd been reacting to their actions, responding to their betrayal. But now I was just Catherine Anderson, senior partner, litigator, woman who'd rebuilt her life exactly how she wanted it. The divorce was just a chapter, not the whole story. In late April, 2 weeks before my Italy trip, I was having drinks with Rebecca in San Francisco. I'd flown down for the weekend, when she asked the question I'd been waiting for someone to ask. "So, Kat, any interest in dating again? Or is it too soon?" I thought about it. Honestly, I'm not opposed to the idea eventually. But right now, I'm just enjoying being alone. Enjoying my own company. Learning who I am without someone else's expectations shaping me. "That's really healthy," Rebecca said. "A lot of people rush into new relationships to avoid processing their old ones." Yeah, I'm not doing that. If I ever date again, it'll be because I want to, not because I need to. And it'll be with someone who respects me, values me, and would never dream of treating me the way Tyler did. "Setting the bar appropriately high," she said, raising her glass. "I like it." We clinked glasses, and I felt something settle inside me. Peace. Actual peace. The Italy trip in May was everything I'd hoped for and more. I wandered through Venice, getting delightfully lost in the narrow streets. I stood in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence staring at Botticelli's Birth of Venus and cried. Actually cried at the beauty of it. I ate pasta in Rome that was so good I considered moving there permanently. I drove the Amalfi Coast with the windows down and opera playing on the radio, feeling more alive than I had in years. And I did it all alone, by choice, on my terms. One evening in Positano, sitting at a cliffside restaurant watching the sunset over the Mediterranean, I got a text from an unknown number. I almost didn't open it. I'd been so good about disconnecting from work, from Portland, from everything. But curiosity won. "Kat, it's Tyler. I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I needed to say something. I'm sorry. For all of it. You deserve better. I hope you're happy." I stared at the message for a long time. Read it 3 times. Thought about responding. Thought about telling him exactly how happy I was, how much better my life was without him, how completely I'd moved on. But then I realized he didn't deserve to know. He didn't deserve my time, my energy, my words. He was the past. This, Italy, the sunset, the wine, the freedom, was my present and my future. I deleted the message without responding, blocked the number, and ordered the most expensive bottle of wine on the menu. Because here's what I'd learned in the 7 months since Jenna's phone call: revenge isn't about making someone suffer. It's not about them at all, really. It's about taking back your power. It's about refusing to let their actions define your story. It's about building something so much better than what they destroyed that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. Tyler and Jenna thought they were the protagonists of some grand love story, fighting against the obstacle of a cold, career-focused wife. They thought their affair was romantic, justified, destined. What it actually was: a cautionary tale about what happens when you underestimate someone, when you mistake kindness for weakness, when you confuse patience with ignorance. They learned, both of them, in the most devastating way possible, that Catherine Morrison doesn't lose. She adapts, she plans, she executes, and she wins. I flew back to Portland at the end of May, tanned, rested, and ready to take on the world. Threw myself back into work with renewed energy. The Anderson case was going well. We were in the discovery phase, and I'd already found 3 smoking guns that would probably force a settlement before trial. I was mentoring more junior associates, building a reputation not just as a killer litigator, but as someone who helped others succeed. I was building the kind of career and life that would outlast any marriage, any betrayal, any setback. In June, I went to my 10-year Yale Law School reunion. Walked into that reception in New Haven, wearing a designer dress that fit my post-divorce body perfectly, and I owned that room. Old classmates congratulated me on making senior partner so young. Professors remembered me and praised my success. And when anyone asked about Tyler, because of course some people had heard, I just smiled and said, "We divorced. Best decision I ever made." No bitterness, no anger, just fact. Because it was true. Divorcing Tyler wasn't the worst thing that had happened to me. It was the best thing. It was the catalyst that forced me to stop settling, stop compromising, stop shrinking myself to make someone else comfortable. On the flight back to Portland, I thought about where I'd been a year ago. Married, comfortable, successful, but somehow unfulfilled in ways I couldn't articulate. Folding Tyler's laundry and thinking my life was fine. And now I was divorced, thriving, more successful than ever, and genuinely excited about my future. I'd taken the worst betrayal of my life and transformed it into the foundation of something better. That's the real revenge, I realized. Not the divorce settlement, not Jenna losing her job, not Tyler's financial struggles. Those were just tactics. The real revenge was building a life so magnificent, so fulfilling, so completely mine that their betrayal became nothing more than a plot point in my success story. They wanted to write me out of my own life. Instead, I wrote them out of mine. And as I landed in Portland, drove home to my beautiful house, and walked through the door into a space that reflected every ounce of who I'd become, I realized something profound. I'd won. Not just the divorce. Not just the settlement. I'd won the whole damn war. And the best part, they'd never see me coming until it was too late. Because that's what happens when you underestimate Katherine Anderson. You don't just lose. You lose everything, and you don't even realize it until you're standing in the wreckage wondering how you got there. So here's my message to anyone who's been betrayed, underestimated, or had someone try to take their life from them. Don't get mad. Don't get even. Get strategic. Get patient. Get methodical. Document everything. Protect yourself first. Build your case like your life depends on it, because it does. And then, when the moment is right, strike with such precision and such force that they never see it coming. Don't just survive the betrayal. Thrive in spite of it. Build something so beautiful from the ashes that their betrayal becomes the best thing that ever happened to you. That phone call from Jenna was supposed to be my ending. The moment the other woman won, and I lost everything. Instead, it was my beginning. The moment I stopped being someone's wife and started being fully, completely, unapologetically myself. And that, in the end, was the greatest victory of all.